Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media MegaCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information to cover with you. Let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. Now, if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Also, keep in mind that if you have any tech issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you. So throughout today's MegaCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all of your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. And if we do not get to your question during the webinar, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us today will be following up with you after we wrap. All right, next up on our tour, there are going to be lots of cool aha moments in the MegaCast today, and if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's MegaCast will automatically get added to your post. And our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the Handouts tab for some resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection of solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. And if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes we will be giving away throughout the MegaCast today. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. You do need to be in attendance here live at the webinar in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all winners after we wrap the MegaCast today. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, hey, if you're not sure what those are, no problem. You can find the full T's and C's in that Handouts tab. Again, just click into the Handouts section, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember here today is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. In today's MegaCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all the questions asked after the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about winning, and we will get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the MegaCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going. So let's connect on social. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content right away after we wrap, you want to jump right in, make sure that you subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and to grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you're going to find a link to do that right there in that Handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected after we wrap today. Now, both you and your coworker, your friend, could win a prize, and we actually hold those drawings every month. So be sure you refer somebody awesome before you head out today. It could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your Handouts tab and fill out the application. Then the Actual Tech crew will match you with some vendors that we think you should be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you can choose to join in, like surveys or test running new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you will learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker in your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, how to prevent and recover. The site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. So go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books are going to work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and they are completely free, super easy. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in the handouts tab as well. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get rolling. All right. Well, hi, hello, welcome. I hope that you are all ready and pumped up because today we are talking about minimizing RTO, RPO, and RTA, best practices for bulletproof backup and ultra fast recovery. And I love this topic because it's all about strategy and thinking one step ahead of the attackers. And I was thinking about this the other day and it reminded me, I've mentioned this a few times. I used to do some wilderness guiding in my younger days. And I remember planning some long multi-day trips in the Yukon and Alaska. We would pack for every possible eventuality. Now, of course, it wasn't that we hoped somebody was going to break a leg in the backcountry. Ideally, that never came up, but we sure wanted to be prepared for it if it did. And so the last thing you want to be doing in a moment of crisis is trying to think strategically and make a plan in that heat of it all, right? You want to have that plan laid out. You want to be thinking ahead in the calm moments. You want to know what you're going to be doing when something happens, what the steps are, who's doing what, how long it's going to take, especially if you're thinking about, medvacing somebody out of the wild. But hey, in this case, data protection. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And luckily, the awesome folks at TierPoint, Zerto, Rubrik, Cohesity, Pure Storage, and Haiku have sent some of their top experts to help us navigate this conversation, get into all of these ideas around RTO, RPO, RTO, RTA. And if you are not 100% clear on what all of these wonderful acronyms are, don't worry. By the end of this session, you will be an expert yourself. This is going to be a great day. I cannot wait to get started. So we are going to dive in, get through some housekeeping, and get this show on the road. All right, the first thing that I want to point out here, and I have to take a quick pause and say how much I enjoy all the highs and hellos and good vibes and sunshine that you guys are all bringing from around the world. I love seeing that come in. It is one of my favorite things in the morning when I can barely keep up with all the highs and hellos. So high fives to all of you out there. Everyone clearly had their coffee this morning. They're ready to rock. Again, my name is Jess Steinbach. I am a moderator here at Actual Tech Media. Now my fellow moderators, Scott Becker, Mackenzie Puddesy, and Keith Ward will be here with us throughout the day on live chats. We've got the whole awesome crew with us. And speaking of awesome prizes, let's talk about some prizes. I know you're all excited to see that. Today on the MegaCast, you could win one of 3 Apple Watch Series 9s. Look how shiny. Plus, we have a $300 Amazon gift card that we're going to be giving away every 30 minutes. So lots of prizes coming at you. Paul says, enough coffee. Is there even such a thing? Well, I would agree with you, Paul. Maybe not. But here's the thing. We're gonna test you out a little bit this morning. We're gonna start. If the coffee hasn't woken you up, I have pop quizzes for you. What do you think about that? That's how we're gonna kick off our MegaCast here today, with some pop quizzes. But don't worry, no one's getting graded here. I am going to show you the results of this poll question here. So there's a poll up on the screen, and what we're going to do is just kind of go through some of these key terms that we're talking about today. But I'm also curious where you all are at in your planning. I do have to say, we've got a Heidely Ho Neighborinos coming in. Thank you so much for that. That's a great greeting. All right. Well, so when we're talking about RPO, let's take a quick step back, because I think with some of these terms, they become so ubiquitous. We hear them all the time that we almost stop thinking about what they actually mean. So if somebody out there has been wondering about the difference between RPO, RTO, RTA, quick level set on this. When we're talking about recovery point objective, or our RPO, this is the amount of time frame that we are willing to lose data for. So we measure it in time, right? We're willing to lose a minute of data. We're willing to lose an hour of data, a week of data. But it's kind of, in its own way, it's a place, right? It's where you want to come back to, measured as time. For some reason, this always reminds me of light years, because we're thinking units of distance, but we're measuring this somehow as a time. So this is the starting point when we're thinking about RPO. This is the starting point of our strategy here, because what we're talking about today is our business continuity plans, right? Our disaster recovery plans. So we need to know as a starting point, before we can build anything else out, what is the amount of data, the time frame of data that we are prepared to lose? What would be an acceptable thing that would keep our business on track, allow our organization to continue running if we lost that amount of data? That's the point we have to come back to. 1 minute of downtime, again, hour or week, whatever it is. And this is getting smaller and smaller for a lot of people, but this is our starting point. I'm going to show you your results in just a second here. So if you haven't answered this question, again, I'm not going to put anyone's name up here, so you're not going to see, well, Bob says it's a week or a minute or has no idea. But I do want to give you guys all a chance to see where you sit in the greater scheme of who's here with us in the MegaCast today. So for RPO, we've got the vast majority of you saying, almost half of you saying less than a day. So that's interesting. The smallest number that I'm seeing is actually that less than a minute. So it looks like we don't have too many people that have a 60 seconds or less time frame of data that they would need to get back. But most of you kind of saying, all right, well, less than a day is the most amount of data that we would be able to lose. Well, let's move on a little bit to the next step of this here, because so RPO, so we know how much data we are willing to lose. What is the time frame of data that we could be down for? But now let's talk about RTO. So RTO is that next step. This is basically how quickly we can switch from our general way of functioning through to our backup. Or if you want to think about it as what's the time frame that you're willing to sort of be down for before you would get back to that RPO. So this is again, when we're thinking that that sort of solution, this is what's going to inform the solutions that we're looking for, because we need to make sure that we're matching the solutions to our RTO. So our RPO, how much we're willing to be down for or lose data for. RTO is how much time we're willing to wait until we are back to that point, that recovery point objective. And so then we can start to backtrack from there. What are the solutions that we need in order to enable that RTO? All right, so curious about what your time frame is for here. Hopefully, most of you know. I do see a few of those, I have no ideas. And that's all right. We're going to give you some help today to help you get through to that so that you can bring some of this to your team and hopefully set this up. All right, so let's take a look at your results here. What did you guys all say? So for your organization's RTO, we're seeing about 50% in that less than a day. All right, so that's kind of making sense. So everyone here needing to move fairly quickly, but I'm glad that we're not seeing too many in that less than a minute. That's certainly a tough. And then a few of you in the I have no idea. All right, well, that's a good place to start, my friends. That's a good place to start because we are going to help you get some answers to that today. All right, now let's talk about the hardest one. Let's talk about the RTA, which is our recovery time actual. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? Because for most of us, we don't know. It's the best laid plans. We've timed it out. I was thinking, we were talking the other day in a webinar about heist movies, and you know that scene where they're walking around the diagram of the bank they're going to rob, and somebody's snapping their fingers and saying, it's 10:51, where are you? It's 10:51 and 10 seconds, where are you? And everyone's saying exactly what's going to happen. And even in those best laid plans, that heist movie is still going to go a little awry. Somebody's going to fall through the vent or run across something, hit a laser beam, and something's going to go a little bit off from the initial plan of timing. So our RTA is hard to know until we're actually in it, until we've actually had a disaster. So this is an interesting sort of, we're thinking a little bit metaphorically maybe as we think about the reality versus what our best laid plans are. If anyone has any thoughts on how they've handled getting us close to the RTA, how they've tested for that, please do post that in the chat. Share that with the community, because that's great feedback to offer to the other folks out here in our discussion today. Let's see what you all said. What do you think? How close do you think your RTA is to your RTO? All right, so most of you feel pretty confident. Actually, this is really interesting. We're almost about even on very close and not sure. So those are almost entirely even. And you know what? I feel that might have something to do with maybe our levels of optimism here. We'll see. But so I think there's a good reason for that to be fairly tight, the very close and the not sure. And that is one of the things that, again, we will get into today. Now, here's my last question for all of you out there. This is the usual question. You all know what's coming. I want to talk about time frame. So as we're looking at these solutions that are going to help you with these key terms we've just defined, we've talked about RPO, we've talked about RTO, we've talked about RTA. If you are looking for solutions to help you get those a little bit more defined, make sure that you are hitting the RPO that you want, the RTO that you want, and that your RTA is as close to that as possible, that gap, the RTA to RTO gap, is as small as you can possibly make it, then these solutions need to be implemented in your organization immediately, or are you thinking a little bit longer term? Are you thinking that you're kind of okay for about a year or so? What is your time frame? All right, so take a second now and answer that poll. I'm not going to show you the results on this one, but I can tell you that we've got, you know what? We're almost entirely exactly evenly split. It is about 20% across every single one of these, and a slight advantage to the not sure category. And I love when we get to start a MegaCast that way, because when you're in that not sure category, to me, that says you're in the research phase. You are looking for answers. You are looking for the right solution. And that is exactly why we're here today, right? So let's jump in and get started, because we have a lot of good information waiting for you and some incredible experts who are going to help you maybe tighten up some of that not sure feeling and get a little bit more confident about those decisions, the solutions, and make sure that you are getting the preparedness planning that you need early on. So we're going to jump into our MegaCast here, and I am so excited to introduce you all to our very first presenters. As you can see from the screen, we are kicking things off on a great note. We have this incredible partnership here and a couple of experts that are going to walk us through some really exciting information coming out of TierPoint and from Zerto, an HPE company. We are going to be chatting today with Bob Brown, Lead Solutions Engineer, and Mike Nassis, Product Marketing Manager at Zerto. And then later we're going to be joined by Anthony Dutra, also from Zerto, and a familiar face here. So many of you know Anthony Dutra, and we'll have him join us a little bit later for some Q&A. So we've got lots coming. Bob and Mike, it is great to see you both here on the MegaCast. I know that you have a lot of great stuff lined up for us. Anthony's waiting in the wings. We got a whole awesome crew. So I'm going to step back. I'm going to hand things on over to you. Take it away, Mike.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Nassis. I'm a product marketing manager with Zerto, and today I'm also joined by my colleague Bob Brown, who is a senior solutions engineer with TierPoint. And together, for the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to be covering how you can drastically reduce your RPOs and RTOs for seamless data recovery within your organization. So let's get started. So part of the reason I'm very excited to talk with you today is because of what we do at Zerto to help organizations just like yours to protect, recover, and move data and applications for continuous availability across on-premise, hybrid, and multi-cloud environments. So a little bit about us before we get started. We have been building a global business for the last 15 years with over 2,000 partners, including great managed service providers like TierPoint and almost 10,000 customers spanning over 100 countries. The reason we have been so successful in this industry is because we listen to our customers, and more specifically, we listen to their main concerns. And lately, most, if not all, of our customers across all industries share three main concerns that have been top of mind for them. The first is the continued threat of ransomware, which really has become a C-level priority for all organizations that we speak with. So you know as well as I do that this is no longer a niche threat. It's really part of the larger picture related to disruptions. And to succeed as a digital business in today's day and age, there's really no tolerance for downtime of any kind, whether it's a natural disaster or through human error. We have seen staggering statistics like only about half of organizations can actually recover from a severe data loss within 12 hours. So we think that is completely unacceptable. And you'll see in the coming slides how we tackle that. And of course, lastly, the acceleration of cloud adoption, whether it's a hybrid strategy or multi-cloud, has really introduced new complexities for IT, especially since COVID. We've seen over 90% of organizations have actually altered their cloud strategy since the pandemic. Now, one of the first questions that or main questions, I should say, that we always get is Zerto a backup solution? Well, we're a little different. So when you think of a traditional daily backup, right? If something were to happen, you could hit it with a ransomware attack, a natural disaster, or human error, or anything of the sort. You're really looking at RPOs of probably 24 hours and RTOs of several hours. And of course, that impact really starts to add up, especially when the average cost of downtime can run you $250,000 per hour. If you're down for 8 hours, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. So typically, we then see the next level is storage replication. With that, the RPOs and RTOs diminish significantly, but you're still looking at hours of downtime and data loss and a huge business impact. With Zerto, we actually can get your RPOs down to seconds and your RTOs down to minutes, mitigating that downtime and business impact drastically. And these single-digit RPOs have real-world applications, and it's not just a theoretical exercise, because taking your RPO down to seconds can save an enormous amount of money no matter what industry you're in. So in particular, we are laser focused on 3 key use cases across all the platforms that you use. Disaster recovery is the first one. We're focused on this to be able to radically reduce, again, those RPOs and RTOs, no matter what comes your way. Secondly, with ransomware resilience, we have things like real-time encryption detection, which alerts you when there's an anomaly so you can mitigate a ransomware attack right at the point of impact. And the third use case, multi-cloud mobility, really provides that freedom to move and protect across your cloud infrastructure. And of course, all of this is based on a foundation of continuous data protection, which is a space that we have pioneered and been a market leader in for almost 15 years now. And of course, we partner with some of the best technology companies in the industry, as well as managed service providers like TierPoint, which you'll learn a little bit more about in a minute. Now, I mentioned continuous data protection in the previous slide. So this is made possible with what's called Zerto's block level replication. So this is near synchronous replication. So you're getting the best of both worlds, right? So it's the best of both synchronous and asynchronous approaches. And because we sit at the hypervisor level, we can be a fully software-only solution that is totally independent of the underlying hardware and infrastructure, including your storage. So that's part of why Zerto works so well across hypervisors, clouds, and platforms. You really have the choice to do what's best for your business while allowing Zerto to effortlessly work in the background without impacting production. Now, the secret sauce, so to speak, of what makes our continuous data protection with Zerto so powerful is really lies with our unique journaling capabilities. So just being able to capture a write or an IO doesn't necessarily mean you have true continuous data protection. It has to be paired with a dynamic, hyper-efficient journal. Our journal tracks every single change made in your application or on your server, and it logs these as checkpoints every 5 to 10 seconds. So even when you have hundreds or thousands of servers, it's doing this. Now, this journal can store the change data for 1 hour up to 30 days, and it offers this an unparalleled granularity when it comes to recovery. So whenever needed, you can simply rewind to an old checkpoint, and if ransomware hits at, let's say, 10 a.m., you can actually roll back to 9:59 and 55 seconds and completely mitigate that infection. Now, when we talk about continuous data protection, we have to keep a focus on the applications themselves and not think about individual servers in isolation. Modern applications are generally comprised of multiple VMs or containerized pods that are all interdependent, right? With legacy data protection, this makes life harder for IT teams by offering restore points from very inconsistent points in time, which extends RTO and just complicates recovery. Zerto, on the other hand, really solves for the challenge of recovering these complex apps by protecting your workloads as a single cohesive logical entity. That way you avoid the inconsistent recovery and avoid each VM being restored to a different point in time. So this actually allows you to protect and recover together as one unit to the exact same point in time, and saves a ton of resources when you're trying to reduce the amount of time dedicated to recovery. And of course, before I hand it over to Bob, I would be remiss if I didn't show a few customer examples of Zerto in action. We have Fortune 500 companies, we have top airlines like United Airlines using Zerto to protect thousands of VMs, and despite them needing to protect this many VMs, we still are able to deliver RPOs in the seconds, as you can see here on the slide. So we really are the gold standard with disaster recovery, and if we're able to deliver 6, 7, 8 seconds of RPOs across 5, 6, 7,000 VMs, just think of what we can do for your organization. Really, before I hand it over to Bob, just wanted to reiterate real quick, if for any of those of you who missed this, Zerto is a software-only hypervisor-based replication solution. We deliver drastically reduced RPOs and RTOs, allowing you to quickly restore your operations within minutes and rewind seconds before a disruption. And one thing I was not able to touch on, but I'd like to mention it quickly, is we have best-in-class orchestrated failover, failback, and non-disruptive testing that allows you to simply and easily recover files, VMs, as well as multi-VM app stacks. So with that, I thank you for your time today, and I will pass it over to Bob at TierPoint.
Hey, thanks, Michael. That was a lot of great information. I hope everyone listening is having a great day and appreciate you taking the time to join us today. My name is Bob Brown. I'm a lead solutions engineer with TierPoint with a focus on disaster recovery and backup services. TierPoint and Zerto have had a long-standing relationship working together. We utilize Zerto as our primary solution for our disaster recovery customers. Before we get into the TierPoint solutions, I want to take a few minutes to give a brief overview of TierPoint for those of you who might not be familiar with us. TierPoint operates 41 data centers across the United States that are all interconnected with fiber, offering speeds of up to 100 gigabits per second. All of our data centers can also provide connectivity to your hyperscale cloud providers with a very low latency. With geographic redundancy of our data centers, we can provide a recovery solution that meets your auditor's requirements. It's going to be located outside of any natural or weather event that might affect your production site, and provide a DR site that's going to be on a separate power grid from your primary location. So beyond our co-location data center services, TierPoint also provides a wide variety of services to our clients to help them meet their IT and business requirements. TierPoint offers customized cloud solutions using our multi-tenant cloud, which is available in 8 of our data centers across the United States. We also have a host of private cloud solutions that are going to be built on dedicated hardware to customer-specific requirements, and those can be put in any of our data centers. And we also have public cloud services that we can offer within AWS and Azure. For customers that are running IBM Power Systems and mainframes, we offer solutions for both production and disaster recovery services on these platforms. We have a full suite of security services that can be wrapped around any of our managed solutions. And TierPoint also provides consulting and professional services to our customers across the full portfolio of our solutions, including assistance with business impact analysis to assist our customers with their disaster recovery planning. Whether you're looking to deploy a new disaster recovery solution or enhance the solution that you might currently have, choosing the right partner is going to be a key decision. TierPoint and Zerto have a long-standing partnership on providing industry-leading solutions, helping customers increase their resiliency. TierPoint was Zerto's Growth Partner of the Year in 2020 and has been their Managed Services Partner of the Year for the past 3 years. So why would you want to pick TierPoint to help with your disaster recovery services? Well, we have teams of trained professionals to support you in the event of a disaster. With years of experience in recovery and testing our customers' environments, you can be assured that your recovery needs are going to be in good hands. As one of the leading disaster recovery providers, our teams have experience to provide you a seamless implementation process and ensure that all the critical business needs are being met. SharePoint offers multiple solutions for your cloud-based recovery based upon the size and compliance requirements of your business. These will include all OpEx-based solutions to minimize the capital outlay in building a disaster recovery solution. Earlier in the presentation, Michael went through how Zerto works with you to provide an extremely low RTO and RPO for the customers. I'm going to talk through how TierPoint utilizes Zerto to provide our customers a solution that they can be sure will work for them in the event of a disaster. Minimizing downtime is a common theme among all of our customers. They can't rely on the extended downtime that it takes to recover from traditional backups. Customers are looking for a solution that provides a low RTO and RTA. Now, Michael touched on RTO and RTA earlier, and most customers are familiar with the term RTO or recovery time objective. But where we should really be focused on is RTA or recovery time achievable or recovery time actual. The difference here is that RTO is the goal that the business has set to be back up, and RTA is the actual time that it will take to get the environment back up. TierPoint solutions allow customers to have a solution that will meet the actual requirements of the business and ensure that the environment will be back up and operating in the defined time frame. As you can see on the slide, all of our solutions will be built on enterprise-class hardware. The disaster recovery targets can be one of TierPoint's multi-tenant cloud pods that are located in 8 data centers across the United States, a hosted private cloud solution, or we can utilize a public cloud target in Azure or AWS. We're going to work with you to help determine which of these will be the best fit for your particular environment. We provide an industry-leading SLA-backed recovery time of getting 10 VMs recovered every 15 minutes. This SLA ensures that your environment will be back up and operational and allows you to have the RTA that you're really looking for. The service is a subscription-based and will be inclusive of the Zerto licensing, compute requirements for the environment, target storage that's going to be based on the journal sizing, replication bandwidth, and a management option. So we offer both a self-managed option for customers who want to manage the recoveries internally, and a fully managed option where TierPoint personnel will take care of the recovery for you, and your IT teams can focus on getting the production environment back up and running. And lastly, testing is going to be a key component of any successful disaster recovery program. Testing at least annually allows you to be sure that you're protected against a potential disaster. This allows you to make sure that the solution is meeting your RTO and the RTA. All of the DR solutions at TierPoint include annual testing hours to ensure that your environment is properly protected. Our cloud-based recovery solutions powered by Zerto include 72 hours of annual testing, and additional testing can be added if it's required. After testing, you're going to receive an attestation of the test that can be provided to the auditors as proof of a successful test. We strive to partner with our customers to achieve their desired results of their disaster recovery programs. We take the time in the pre-sales process to understand the business needs of our customers and ensure that the solution is delivering upon those requirements. We're going to dig into the details of the environment to ensure that we're covering all aspects of the recovery, including employee access, how customers and partners are accessing the environment, and any security requirements that are often overlooked in disaster recovery solutions. All of these details are going to be incorporated in the overall design and included in the customer's disaster recovery runbook. As mentioned previously, we can also provide consulting services if companies require a business impact analysis, disaster recovery assessment, and business continuity and disaster recovery strategies. We even have options for business continuity DR seats within many of our data centers that provide a location for your employees to work during a disaster event. Our dedicated team of DR engineers are fully focused on ensuring your DRAS environment will be fully operational if a DR event should ever occur. They are monitoring the status of the replication of your environment and validating the status of your runbook, ensuring that the solution will work as planned. So here's a couple quotes from some of our current disaster recovery customers. As with all of our disaster recovery customers, they're seeing the benefits of using the Zerto-powered disaster recovery as a service solution that TierPoint provides. Both of these customers were able to implement a DR solution that provides a very low recovery time and ensures that if they ever did have a disaster event, they can be back up and operating in a time frame that meets their business requirements. If you'd like to learn more about how TierPoint Disaster Recovery is a service with Zerto and how we can help enhance your disaster recovery profile, you can visit us on the web at www.tierpoint.com. You'll be able to review our products and services, and we'll be able to chat with one of our solutions advisors online. You can also call us at 877-859-8437. When you reach out, one of our DR experts will reach out to you to discuss your company's business requirements for a disaster recovery solution. They'll discuss the different services we can provide and offer, share industry trends that they are seeing across TierPoint, and they'll also work with you to set up next steps to ensure that we can help you achieve your goals. So from the Zerto team and myself, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this to be informative and hope everyone has a great day. Thanks.
Oh, well, we definitely did find that informative. So much cool information, lots of really great actionable takeaways, and we are definitely going to dig in a little bit more because there are a lot of questions coming in from our audience that I want to get to. But before we bring all of you back on to talk a little bit with our audience here, I do want to point out to all of you out there that we have, we'll call it a poll question, but think of it as like a shopping list. What information would you want from TierPoint and Zerto to follow up on the conversation that we've had today? So this is just scratching the surface, and there is so much more to dig into. There's so much more to explore with these incredible solutions, and you are definitely going to want to have a follow-up conversation with them. So this is hitting the easy button. Click on the screen right now and let Zerto and TierPoint know how they can follow up with you to make sure that you get the info that you need. Well, you are all doing that. Bob, Mike, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us. So excited to have you back here with us. You guys ready to jump into some questions?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's do it. All right, so I want to start with this one here because you guys were giving us a lot of really great best practices, and we got a few questions coming in around that. I think people, there's lots of ways to do things, but that question of what's the best, now I know that's a tough thing to define, but if you were to give us some best practices for determining that RTO and that RPO, where would you start with that?
So I'll start with it, then Anthony, Mike, you guys can jump in. The best way to really do that is to have your company go through a business impact analysis. And that can be done through a third party, or you can do it internally. But that's going to really go through and help you understand what are going to be the actual economic issues if you have downtime to any particular application, and let you understand which applications are more critical to your business and what the impact with either lost revenue, downtime to your employees, lost confidence in your brand will be. So I think going through a business impact analysis is really the best way to really understand what those RTOs and RPOs should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Piggybacking off of what Bob said, I think he said it nicely. Basically, is really around that TCO, right? What is this downtime costing my business? He mentioned a lot of good things there, like what are the full-time equivalent for managed backups or a disaster recovery solution in the event that something goes down. If it's down for this long, well, how much money are we losing in terms of that? So as long as you have a very good tool that can show that at a very high level. I'll plug Zerto's TCO tool. You can go search that out there. Gives a very nice high-level approach to what the cost would be in the event of downtime.
Well, I think you've both, and throughout the presentation, we've gotten a lot of good reasons for this, but we did get a couple of questions coming in around why is using a service provider a benefit versus just figuring out your own disaster recovery plans on your own. Now, you gave us right at the end there, we were chatting a little bit about, and Bob, you were running through all the support that folks can expect to get prior to and then post in a disaster situation. To me, that seems like a huge benefit, but I'm wondering if you guys want to dig in a little bit more and answer that for the audience. Why not do this internally?
Yeah, so I mean, Zerto is a great tool and it's pretty simple to use. I think the benefit of actually using a service provider is when you have that disaster, most companies don't have a dedicated disaster recovery team. You're asking your teams that are doing the production environments to also come in during a disaster and try to focus on getting that DR solution back up and operating. And even though Zerto is very effective, you don't know where your team members are going to be. If your luck is anything like mine, it's going to happen middle of the night. You're going to be away. You're not going to have access. It's going to be very hard for you to do that. Using a service provider, you're always going to have a team of people that are going to be there ready as soon as you contact them that there's a disaster to implement that disaster recovery program, continuing to provide those updates, doing the testing for you. And these are all things that when you utilize TierPoint for the disaster recovery solution, we're going to go through, we're going to identify all those, create the run books, do that annual testing. And when a disaster does happen, we actually get the environment back up and running for you, letting your teams really focus on getting that production environment back up and operating.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely, again, just piggyback off that. I mean, TierPoint was 4 years in a row Zerto's managed service provider. It goes just beyond disaster recovery. They have a lot of great security services as well. So being easily integrated into those and how well they use those in order to give you a full data protection strategy and get you back online quick using Zerto is what we love. So yeah, great answer, Bob.
Well, and we did get chiming in from the audience here saying, hey, look, we've got a lot of organizations out here that are small and don't have disaster recovery teams. So it may not be an option to do that in-house and offering that. We did get some questions sort of digging in a little bit to the ongoing opportunities. So, I think a lot of times people feel like they're going to implement a solution and then they're just sort of on their own from there. And it sounds like there's a little bit more opportunity for to be in touch with Zerto, with TierPoint after implementation. Could you address that as well?
Yeah, so from the TierPoint side, once you sign a contract with TierPoint for disaster recovery, you're going to be in touch with a implementation manager, and then you'll have an ongoing account manager that's going to be in touch with you. So they're going to go through the entire process of getting that environment up and operating for you. They're going to be touching base with you constantly about your testing, ensuring that everything is working. We provide portals, so anytime there's any updates to your environment, it's a constant conversation. That's really what has to happen because customers' environments are ever changing. So this isn't ever really a set it and forget it. We need to ensure that anytime your business requirements are changing, different applications are moving in or out, we have to be able to update that to make sure that that environment is working with you. And I know Zerto works directly with the customers as well to ensure that, they're aware of all of the new softwares that are coming out. So Anthony, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, I think that was pretty good overall, right? Zerto is always updating itself, right? With the Zerto 10 release, we saw the encryption detection. Again, it's a disaster recovery tool, but something that you can use as part of a larger defense in-depth strategy. And why you want to work with a TierPoint, because they do it super, super well, right? They can add that layer of recoverability that Zerto does so well to a plethora of other services that kind of gives, like you said, that second team for your IT team when it comes to the worst case scenario. So.
Perfect. All right, last few questions here because we're running a little close to the end of time here. When VMs are getting restored, are they all going to different points in time?
No. So absolutely not. That's the whole application-centric approach that Mike talked about very early on. It was early on in the presentation itself, right? We protect each virtual machine as if it were grouped together, and when they recover, they all recover up to back to that same exact point in time. There's no staggered approach.
Perfect. And we did get some questions about hardware. Now, obviously, we're talking about DRES, so that isn't something that would be required for anyone.
Not at all. Software only solution. And TierPoint, I'm sure, loves managing that other side too. So
Exactly.
I love when it's nice and easy. Okay, we're gonna have to leave it pretty quick here. I did get a question that I love when this comes up because I think there's a lot of choices out there and a lot of conversations, research that folks are having. And so Stephen is wondering if you could tell us, what do you think your sort of key unique, if there was one takeaway that you wanted everyone out there to know about TierPoint and Zerto, what would that be?
I think the key takeaway for me is just the integration that we do with Zerto. We work with Zerto, as Anthony stated. We've been their managed services partner of the year for 4 years running. We're deeply integrated with their teams. We're in constant communication with them. So we're constantly working with Zerto to ensure that the solutions we're providing, can meet all the customers' requirements.
Yeah, and then just I think from the Zerto side, real quick, I think it's simple. I think it's if you're looking to keep your business going regardless of a disruption, and you don't want to have to face potentially hours or days of downtime and data loss, and you really need to be up and running within minutes and with only seconds of data loss for at least your core applications at a minimum, then I think Zerto is the answer for you.
Perfect. All right. Well, great answers all around. I want to thank all of you for being here with us to kick off our MegaCast. You definitely started us out on a great note. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. And to everyone out there who clicked on that poll, keep those answers coming in. Also, make sure that you're getting in any last questions, because I know that we did not get to all of the questions, and we are going to see if our speakers can hang out and answer some questions on live chat. We are also going to make sure that all of the questions get sent to the Zerto and TierPoint team. So you will get responses back either today or in follow-up. So please get those questions in, keep them coming in, keep clicking on that poll on the screen there. And while you're doing all of that, it is my turn to give back to you, and that means it's time for a prize giveaway. So we are going to start out our day here with a $300 Amazon gift card, and that is going to go to someone who is here live, lucky, present with us at the MegaCast today. All of those good things, and that lucky someone today is, oh, my screen moved. Here we go. Josh Baker from Washington, D.C. Josh Baker from Washington, D.C. Congratulations. You have won a $300 Amazon gift card, and we will follow up with you after we wrap. So stay tuned for that. Plus, I want to remind you that we have that best question gift card coming at you from each one of our sessions. So lots of prizes today, lots ahead, and stay tuned. Lots coming. Oh, I see lots of congrats and also dang it. I hear you, but there's more chances to win, my friends. So stay tuned for that. All right, well, we are going to move things along because we have another awesome presentation in the wings here for you. I am so excited to introduce our next wonderful speaker here on the MegaCast, and we are keeping the good times rolling because, as you can see, we've got the Rubrik crew here. I am very happy to introduce you all to Atul Ashok, Senior Product Marketing Manager, Data Security at Rubrik. Atul, thank you so much for being here with us today on the MegaCast. I cannot wait to hear what's up at Rubrik. I always love digging into your platform, so I'm going to step back and hand things on over to you. Take it away.
Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. I'm Atul, and I'm part of the product marketing team here at Rubrik focused on data security. And today we're going to talk about why data security is the foundation for your security posture. Let's start with the basics. What is security posture? Now, as defined by NIST, an organization's security posture is the security status of its networks, information, and systems based on the information security resources. That includes people, hardware, software, policies, etc. Security posture also takes into consideration the capabilities in place to manage the defense of the organization and to react as the situation changes. Simply put, security posture is an organization's overall state of cybersecurity readiness. It is a measure of how well an organization is prepared to protect its assets from cyber attacks. If we think about it for the sake of simplicity, we can break down security posture into these four main segments. We have the infrastructure security that encompasses the protection of all the organization's physical and virtual infrastructure, including servers, networks, storage devices, and applications. This includes measures such as physical security, access control, and security patching. We have network security that is focused on protecting the organization's network infrastructure from unauthorized access, disruption, modification, or even complete destruction. This includes implementing features or tools such as firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and network segmentation. Now, employee awareness and training is also an important part. It is the process of educating employees about cybersecurity threats and best practices. This will help employees to identify and report suspicious activities if they were to occur. And finally, importantly, data security. It is the protection of organizations' data from unauthorized access, use, modification, again, or destruction. This includes taking measures like backup, data encryption, access control, etc. And this last piece is what is going to be the focus of today's session, data security. Now, you may be wondering why. Because in today's digital age, every single company is a data company, regardless of which vertical you operate in, be it healthcare, logistics, BFSI, manufacturing, CPMG, or any other vertical. Take your pick. Manufacturers need to keep track of their purchase orders. Healthcare organizations need access to their patient data at critical speeds. Organizations in the BFSI space need access to their transactional data to remain operational. If your organization is operational today, it needs data to run. Now, in our research at Rubrik Zero Labs, we found that a typical organization today has over 500,000 files containing sensitive data and almost 25 million sensitive data records. And if you're operating in a regulated industry, the penalties for sensitive data exposure adds up to create hefty fines for the organization. Now, traditionally, cybersecurity has focused on infrastructure security around prevention, detection, and investigation. However, infrastructure security is primarily focused on protecting systems, users, networks, and applications, not securing data, which is every organization's most valuable assets. So much so, you could actually call it your organization's lifeblood. Despite significant investments in infrastructure security, the risk of a breach can only be reduced, not eliminated. Attackers are still penetrating defenses, and just as important as reducing the likelihood of a successful attack is reducing the impact of an attack. Now, how quickly can business as usual be restored if an attack were to happen? So that's exactly what this presentation is about. We are not trying to we are trying to create awareness instead, and we need to think about data first. Because you can replace hardware, you can replace data centers. Either you create a new one or you move to the cloud. You can even replace people and their expertise, but you cannot replace data. If it's gone for good. Your data is uniquely important to you, and it is irreplaceable. And it is ultimately the number one priority of the adversary for that reason. Securing data is the only way to truly secure your business, especially at a time when ransomware is such a pervasive threat that remains financially rewarding for attackers. There's even a new business model, RAS, similar to SaaS, but RAS stands for Ransomware as a Service. From the acronym, you can understand that with this business model, attackers don't need the technical acumen that has been expected of a traditional hacker, but can lease that expertise, so to speak, to carry out the attack and hold your data hostage. So we need to have the mindset of assume breach and must ensure that the data is available, safe, and recoverable in the event of an incident, because data is the target of attackers. We need security at the point of data to keep data safe and recovered faster. Because when it's all said and done, you cannot replace your data. And that's why data security should be the foundation of your security posture. But don't take my word for it. Let's look at some stats too. Again, these are the numbers that we found from Rubrik's research wing called Rubrik Zero Lab. In 2022, we found that 99% of the security leaders were made aware of at least one attack, of which 59% experienced a data breach. 54 experienced BEC, which is short for business email compromise, or some other type of fraudulent transfer, and 40% encountered ransomware. Now, of the folks who did encounter ransomware, 72% did end up paying the ransom. 40% did so due to encryption events, and 39% did it to prevent data leaks. Because if you recall the earlier slide, the leakage of sensitive data, especially in the regulated industry, can lead to hefty fines. Now, the good news is that everyone is doing data security. The bad news is everyone believes what they have implemented is good data security. So how do you go about improving your data security such that you strengthen your security posture? By implementing security measures to protect your organization and its data. Now, there are various security frameworks out there, and almost every one of them can be customized to your organization's needs and requirements. But to ensure you're correctly implementing data security measures, make sure you do your research and adopt a framework that meets your requirements. For today's conversation, I'll be referencing the popular NIST cybersecurity framework. And if I recall correctly, their version 2.0 is in the works and it's currently open for public comments for another month or two. So do check out their website and take a look at what's changing soon. Now, getting back to the framework itself, NIST framework is a flexible framework that provides a set of guidelines for organizations to manage cybersecurity risk. It by no means tells you the specific security controls that you need to implement, but instead provides a framework for understanding cybersecurity. For the purpose of this session, I'll be focusing on applying this framework to data security, which is, of course, a subset of the larger cybersecurity itself. Now, as you can see, this framework is organized around 5 functions or stages. We have identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So in the first stage, the identify stage, you need to assess your cybersecurity risks, assets, and vulnerabilities, such that you gain an understanding of what needs protection and prioritize your efforts accordingly. At the end of this assessment, at the bare minimum, you should be able to answer the following. Are you aware of your variables of risk exposure? Can you identify what type of sensitive data is stored? And do you know how much sensitive data is stored? I mean, if our research is an indicator, you could have roughly 25 million sensitive data records right now. Can you identify where that sensitive data is stored? And can you identify who all have access to that sensitive data and if that access poses risk to you or your organization? What happens if you're facing an attack but are unable to answer these questions? How do you deal with the resulting implications, right? In this next stage, protect stage, involves implementing safeguards and measures to defend against identified threats and vulnerabilities. From a data security perspective, this includes setting up a modern backup and recovery mechanism that you can rely on. A solution that will ensure your backups will not be tampered with and will be available to you when needed. Even better if you can automate your backups, so you can set it and forget about it. Added bonus points if your backup solution can protect your data across on-prem, cloud, SaaS applications, etc. Basically across all the workloads that your organization uses. In the third stage, the detect stage, organizations establish continuous monitoring capabilities to identify security incidents promptly. This includes anomaly detection, setting up systems that alert you if a threat is found in your data environment, be it a malware or a web shell that a bad actor has planted so that they can maintain persistence in your infrastructure. Ideally, you have tools in place to identify indicators of compromise or IOCs and detect these threats early before bad actors detonate the payload and encrypted data. Or at the very least, you should be able to pinpoint when that threat was introduced into your data stream so you can identify a safe recovery point. If not, the chances of accidentally reintroducing the threat into your production systems are high, and then you're back to square one. The fourth stage, response stage, is all about what do you do once you realize you're under an attack? How do you respond? It includes incident response planning, communication strategies, and coordinated efforts to contain and mitigate the impact of the incident. This is basically multiple teams coming together against the attacker. And finally, we have the recover stage. In this final stage, we focus on the strategies you need to implement to restore operations and services to normalcy after a cyber incident. Organizations develop recovery plans and blueprints they can rely on, test the effectiveness of the plans, implement the learnings, and continue to evolve the plan to strengthen the overall security posture. Ideally, you have the tools and processes in place that makes this recovery process as painless and quick as possible. You want to have the confidence that the data you recover will help you bring back your operations online without the risk of reinfection. By following these 5 stages or functions of NIST framework, you can enhance your organization's cyber resilience and better protected critical data. And unsurprisingly, with Rubrik Security Cloud, you can defend data against cyber threats, continuously monitor data for risks, and recover business operations within hours. As you can see, all the products within the Rubrik Security Cloud platform map towards one or the other stage of the NIST cybersecurity framework. So you may be wondering, why Rubrik? Because with Rubrik Security Cloud, you can secure data wherever it lives across enterprise, cloud, and SaaS, making your business truly unstoppable. Data resilience protects your data with air-gapped, immutable, access control backups, so you can secure both from insider threats as well as external bad actors. Data observability sets out to search for ransomware and other anomalies, identify classified data exposure, and potential compromise. Data remediation includes threat containment, where we are actually able to quarantine infected data, effectively isolating the entire snapshot or the individual files to prevent accidental reintroduction of the malware during a recovery exercise, thus helping you recover with the confidence your business operations will be back to business as usual quickly. With Rubrik Security Cloud, you get the comprehensive protection to build your resiliency in a single platform. Because at the end of the day, this is the million-dollar question, right? If attackers get past your defenses and carry out an attack, can you afford to wait? How much data loss can you tolerate? We believe our customer testimonials are a true benchmark of what we can deliver. And that's why we have here a quote from Aaron Pritchard, an IT systems analyst at Lang's Building Supplies, who was able to fend off a ransomware attack with hardly any interruption to the business because they had Rubrik's data security solution in place. I mean, think about it. They were asked for $15 million in ransom. They had zero data loss, and they were able to fully recover all the data, be back up and running within 24 hours. That's everything I have for you today. Hope this session was useful. If you would like to learn more about Rubrik and our product offerings, please visit rubrik.com. If you're curious about the state of data security and want to read more of our research, do check out our Hard Truths report at rubrik.com/zerolabs. Once again, thank you for joining me today. Take care.
Thank you so much, Atul. That was such a great conversation. And, we talk about this all the time. Whenever we get a chance to see the Rubrik platform in action and learn a little bit more about what you do, it's so exciting. And you can feel it resonating with everyone out there because the questions are coming in. We got all the high fives going. Just loving that. For those of you who are actually looking to get a little bit more insight right away, I'm going to recommend that you head over to the handouts tab and click on that Rubrik link. There's a really cool resource center with some recorded videos. The first one's about 6 minutes long, and you go right into the data center at Rubrik. So it's quick and easy, and it's going to show you immediately that sort of hands-on view of that data center in Rubrik. There's lots of other resources there, so be sure that you click on that Rubrik link and start exploring that resource center for you. I will also recommend another great way to make sure that you get the follow-ups you need is to click on that wish list that we've got up on the screen here. This is your info shopping list. Do you want a data sheet, a white paper? Would case studies be helpful? Whatever is going to be most helpful for you in terms of follow-up, click on your screen right now, and Rubrik will send you exactly what you need. Dane, I see an awesome shout out from you. Deborah, I agree. Also love Rubrik, loving this. There's some great high fives coming from all the audience members out there. And I will give those good vibes on back to you because we are going to do a prize giveaway. And this time we're going to give away a $300 Amazon gift card as well as an Apple Watch. I've got 2 prizes in the wings for you here, which means I've got 2 lucky winners who are here live and present and ready to win. All right. Whenever I say that, I start getting messages in from the chat saying, I'm here and live and present. I believe you. I do. I do believe you. Well, we'll see here. I am going to give away a $300 Amazon gift card to Gary Zino from Massachusetts. Gary Zino from Massachusetts. And then we've got an Apple Watch going to Eric Oschenbrenner from Texas. Eric Oschenbrenner from Texas. Our 2 lucky winners there. Again, lots more chances to win, so stay tuned. And for anyone that wins a prize today, we will be following up with you after we wrap up the MegaCast, so stay tuned for that. Joshua says, I'm not here. I'm not live. I'm not present. I'm going to try switching it up. I like it, Josh. On opposite day, you are none of the above. All right. Well, my friends, we're going to keep things rolling in our MegaCast today because as you can see, we have another awesome team in the wings. It's the day of dynamic duos and I love it. So up next, we're going to jump in with the Cohesity crew. And that means today we are chatting with Jonathan Bell, Technical Director ATSO, and Jack Thorne, Director of Technical Product Marketing at Cohesity. What a crew. What an awesome way to keep rolling with this MegaCast. Jonathan and Jake, I think you guys have a lot of info lined up. So I'm going to just step back. I'm going to hand things right on over to you. Jake, take it away.
Hi, and welcome to the webcast. Today we're on the topic of strengthening your data resilience strategy, a topic so vast and vague it could be about practically anything. I'm Jake, and as is industry standard, that's an 8-year-old photo because I'm vain. And the clock on the right is telling us how we're going to use our time today, roughly 10 minutes of story time. I will hand it off to Jonathan Bell, my colleague, for a demo, and then we'll wrap it up with some homework for you. We're glad you could be with us, so let's jump right in. These items tend to be universal challenges and top of mind for IT organizations across a broad swath of business sectors. Complexity is actually a double-edged sword. Data everywhere in different deployment models, on-prem, public cloud, SaaS, on a dozen vendors. The paradigm can introduce what amounts to a management tax and security vulnerabilities. But it's also true that businesses land on complex environments because they provide business value at some level. We're not here to change that, but to meet you where you are and to bring the efficiency of unified management and security to your chosen workflow. Cost is, of course, a constant in this and every other industry. I'll bet you've seen cost of downtime calculations for your business and total cost of ownership, but I'd like to circle back to that a little bit later and put it in the context of cybersecurity. I think you already know about the ever-evolving and increasing variety of threats we are facing. You probably have your own terrifying factoids of the state of play, but none of them serve as a wake-up call if we continually hit snooze. We need to update not only what we use, but how we use it. New tools and old ways won't accomplish what the business requires with today's complexities and security risks. We need to update our tools and our thinking. So we're going to want to frame this in what we should expect out of our data management tools and what we need to consider in terms of how to get the best results from them. The basic data protection use cases haven't really changed in almost 20 years, but the tools sure have. The goal here, of course, is absolute minimal downtime from disruptions of any kind. But today, you should also be able to manage all of your systems and enterprise workloads from a single UI securely from the edge to the core to the cloud. You should have a robust platform with non-disruptive upgrades, with independent snapshots, so no chains to contend with. One in which each write is fully protected by the file system itself, not some off-the-shelf or shareware version that poses security risks. In our case, it's a from-the-ground-up immutable file system. Robust as in HA distributed, apps and compute nodes, faster access, meaning instant master stores, and you should have variable length dedupe and compression, global search, and critical security integrations, which I will come back to in a moment. For long-term retention and archival, you'll want data protection that supports policy-based, automated tiering and archiving of data to cost-effective on-prem, cloud, and yes, even tape storage for long-term retention. For disaster recovery and business continuity, you're looking to achieve near zero recovery point objectives for your mission-critical VMware and virtual machines, minimizing data loss and maximizing your ability to ensure business continuity, one that supports a wide variety of enterprise workloads. Now, these next two items might not even be on your radar, as many IT organizations think, the security team handles that. But all of their tools and scans won't really matter much if they don't have any data to scan. If they can't access backups for forensics and mitigation, it's an unpleasant conversation. In truth, your backup and recovery is the cornerstone of your security posture. You'll be looking for a system designed on zero trust principles, including a combination of immutability to prevent ransomware from encrypting your backup data, worm, data encryption, multi-factor authentication, granular row-based access controls, and of course, separation of duties to stop unauthorized applications and bad actors from modifying or deleting your data. Let's just say cyber event to be inclusive, but Vegas odds are It'll be ransomware. Machine learning-based anomaly detection alerts you to destructive attacks to reduce or eliminate data loss. Data classification is there to understand where your critical data is and its regulatory obligations. Passive threat hunting is to identify indicators of compromise on your system without tipping off your adversaries. And you'll be better positioned to support your security team's forensics efforts by presenting file systems over the incident timeline. So what would some of this look like from a legacy infrastructure? Legacy data protection solutions cannot adapt to today's security-conscious hybrid cloud world. They're very fragmented. Many are software only and require multiple products from multiple vendors to create a workable solution. Master media proxy servers, backup software with databases that have to be groomed, target storage devices and tape libraries, and so on. Not only are these fragmented environments very complex and inefficient and difficult to manage under normal disruptions, but they create a large attack surface for cyber attacks. Each product has its own security features and vulnerabilities. They're not working cohesively to secure your data. This places a much larger burden on you to secure your data, and in particular, to recover data at scale is significantly longer. So what's the answer? You'll be shocked to learn I'm going to recommend Cohesity, but hear me out. We consolidate on a next-gen data management and security platform, the Cohesity Data Cloud, which consolidates the compute, the storage, the software into a single, scalable, and highly secure data management platform. It comes with Helios, the cloud-based SaaS control plane for global management, whether it be on-prem, remote offices, or in the public cloud. It simplifies the operations for our IT staff and reduces the time spent managing and securing data for all locations. Next, we utilize Cohesity Data Protect to consolidate all of our data protection workloads. Its file system, SpanFS, maximizes backup and restore performance, storage efficiency, and data security. This overcomes many of the limitations of legacy software and backup-only solutions. So what did we gain? First, we gained global deduplication in a single, massively scalable platform to maximize storage efficiency and reduce our storage spend. We gained incremental forever backups to help reduce the backup window, increase our backup success rates, and help us meet our recovery point objectives. We gained unlimited cloud archiving for long-term retention and cost-effective storage options to maximize our savings. Remember that whole legacy tech versus legacy thinking from earlier? On the tech side, previously we lost a tremendous amount of time just rehydrating the data and restoring it back from a primary storage before we can even power up the VM and gain access to it. What if we recover from the wrong point in time? We had to do it all over again from a different point in time. It's also a sequential operation that makes large-scale recovery quite difficult. Now we've reduced recovery time up to 10x. We can initiate restores of an entire group of VMs in one UI operation, immediately power them up on the hypervisor, and gain access to the critical services in minutes. Thanks to this architecture, we don't lose time in rehydration of backups. However, the key point here is this is incredibly valuable for traditional disruption and DR. It does need context before it can be relevant for your security applications. And that's the legacy thinking part. Same attack, different outcomes. The things we do before the event, what happens during the event, and how we recover. It's easy to sit back and judge these B and C teams as inexperienced or incompetent. But the truth is, the earth is shifting right under our feet very quickly. Let's take a look at Company A. Started on a plan early, one that included people and process and platforms. They know where their critical data is and have built automation for its recovery. They can detect early and isolate quickly. Team B. They had a plan and quality security vendors, but it was light on contingencies and dependencies. They were able to detect the problem, but it was largely a manual process of eradication and recovery. Now, Team C based their plan largely on traditional DR technologies and processes. Their SOC team was operating with little IT alignment. Extended undiscovered dwell time and initiating restores without establishing a properly isolated cleanroom environment led to repeated infections. There are many different frameworks by which to set context for responding to a cyber attack. NIST, MITRE, PICROL, what have you. We are agnostic in this regard, and we can map our technology to any methodology you have chosen. But they all have some basic stages in common. What I'd like to call out is that at every stage of the response, some level of integration is required. Why are you identifying things? So you can protect them appropriately. Now that you have things protected, you're going to look into that data to be able to detect different threats. You're also going to use that protected data for your response to understand what is protected, where it's protected, how long it's going to take to get back, and to do things like reactive hunting and sandboxing. What many teams may not realize about the recovery phase is you're probably going to be bouncing back and forth to different steps, such as sandboxing and analysis. As you get things back online in your response, you may realize that it's not the point in time you wanted, or you may still have infection in the data, and the cycle repeats. What you see here are the things that Cohesity brings to your response capabilities in green, and how acting as the center of operations, we enable all your other security tools and response apparatus. You will undoubtedly want to compare the robust feature sets of all the vendors that play in this space. And we agree, you should. We invite the contrast on everything from the ability to lock the data against encryption, tightly controlled access to the backup systems, monitoring data and users for attack indicators, leveraging existing security controls and processes to speed attack response and recovery, having instant recovery capabilities to minimize operation disruption, have flexible isolation to guard against catastrophic loss of local backup data. If what the analysts say is true, that any one threat detection tool is likely only going to detect roughly 80% of the attacks, without question, an alliance of integrated security partners is going to be the best recipe for leapfrogging your attackers and staying ahead of threats. Now let's jump over to Jonathan Bell for some show and tell.
Thanks for the introduction, Jake. Now let's dive right into this demo. We're going to start by having a look at Cohesity's Data Protect software. Data Protect is at the core of your data protection, but also your replication and recovery of data. As we get into Data Protect here, you get a nice global view of some important statistics about your environment and a quick summary view. We can see the health of the different clusters we have in the environment, including one in an error state. We can see the state of our protection jobs, as well as how compliant we are with our SLAs. And then we also get a quick view of how much storage we're consuming globally. The cluster selector in the upper left here allows us to manage all of our clusters globally, but we're going to go ahead and click US-NYC02. On NYC02, we get another summary screen here. This is going to be more specific to the cluster itself, and will tell you a little bit more about the health of this cluster, as well as some sections showing you some of the data reduction statistics, as well as the performance of this cluster. The area we're going to hone in on first here is the protection piece. As you can see, we have a list of our protection groups here. Digging into the individual protection runs, we can get a little more information about this specific protection group. This group, Core Apps NYC Win02, has been running pretty consistently over the past couple days and is used in our environment to trigger some of our alerts and alarms. What you can see quickly from this view is that our protection group here is data locked, meaning once the data is committed, it cannot be changed even by a local administrator in the cluster. You can see the duration, how long it ran, what type of backup it was, how much data it processed, but then also those other indicators for each run on the right as to whether it has been successfully vaulted or archived in your cloud archive. Cohesity uses policy-based management for consistency across the different protection runs. You create a policy that matches your SLA for the data set or for the tier of application that you're required to protect, and then all of the settings for the protection are set automatically based on the policy. This includes settings such as data lock, vaulting, as well as replication, or sending things out to an archive. All of that can be set up in a policy in advance, and then as you're changing or protecting new workloads, you can very quickly and easily apply this policy and get all the settings that come with it. In the recovery panes here, you can see some of our different recovery tasks that we have completed over time. The one at the top of the list here was a 200 VM bulk copy recovery. Let's click in here, and we could see that in this case, it took us 14 minutes and 16 seconds to pull back 200 VMs. We did this in a bulk copy operation, so it moved pretty quickly. But this is just an example of how quickly we can do recoveries, whether that's in one big restore, or if you need something like many different points in time for one machine to be able to do security forensics. Kicking off a new restore operation on the right here, you can see all of the different sources and application types that Cohesity supports. We support both files and folders, virtual machines. We can do individual file recovery. We can bring back the entire VM. We can even do things like bring the system state back to a point in time and then bring file states individually back as we need to rebuild our applications. For this example, we're going to start out with a VM level recovery. We're going to be bringing back entire virtual machines in this operation. So to start, we're going to look for the protection group that we had protected these VMs as part of. In this case, it's core-apps-nyc win. This is a collection of Windows servers from our NYC environment. After choosing the protection group, we're presented with the ability to choose different points in time that we have available for this protection group. Here we can quickly and easily see the different VMs that are protected as a part of this group, as well as the different locations they are protected in, such as the local copy, the Fort Knox copy, and the Cloud Archive copy we have out in AWS. As we get into the recovery options here, the first decision point we're going to come to is whether we're going to restore this to the original location or a new location. Cohesity gives you the ability to back up a workload in one environment and then also restore it into a completely disparate environment if you've registered it with Cohesity. In this case, since we're doing a VM restore, we're going to send it to an alternate location. We're going to send it to a different vCenter. Within that vCenter, we're then going to be able to pick the different resource pool we want it to be a part of, as well as any folders or data stores we want it to have as part of its configuration. Now that we know where we're sending the data, we have a decision point here on how we want to do the actual recovery. Using instant recovery, the VM will be mounted instantly on Cohesity. It will be presented on an NFS data store back into the VMware environment, and that restoration point will be instantly available as soon as it's powered on in the environment. Using a copy recovery, you copy the data, and then after the data is copied, it is available back in the data store that you pushed it out to. One important last option we have with the VM recovery is the ability to attach this VM to different networks. This allows you to do things like create isolated or bubble environments within your vCenter environment so that as you're doing a recovery, you can place it into the alternate location and even do things like keep the network attached, but maybe it's not connected to an external network. So as the VM comes up, you can inspect it. You don't have to worry about things like duplicate IP addresses. So now that we've got this VM recovered into a different environment, let's take a look at what it would take to do some file restores or to inspect the file system and see what that looks like. To look more in depth at the files from this VM, we're going to do a single file restore. We're going to jump into this browser and we're going to put the VM name in. And in the search bar, it's going to go out and it's going to find all the different data points we have for this single VM. One other thing it will let you do is then browse the file system as it was indexed at that point in time. In this case, we had an adverse event in our system here that caused all of our files to get a crypto locker extension. Yeah, I wonder what did that. Quickly and easily, we can jump right in. We can pick the point in time, and then we can also pick the location for the data where we want it to come from. In this instance, I went back one point in time. I'm able to see that this file system at this point in time was clean and these files are accessible. I can also dive back into further points in time if I wanted to, and even do something like select the Cloud Vault here. This is going to give me a representation of the file system as it was at that point in time when it was backed up and we indexed it. This data allows me to quickly and easily grab files out that I may need. I can push them back out to the host that they came from or the system that they came from, or I can also download them locally for inspection if needed. Now that we've covered some of the basics of backup and recovery, let's jump over to security. And we're going to go to our app selector here, and we're going to jump over to Cohesity Security Center. The Cohesity Security Center is a collection of security-focused tools and resources from within the Cohesity environment. Looking at the Security Posture tab here, this is where we're going to look at the security posture of the deployed Cohesity environment. Security Posture allows you to set your security best practices and then monitor your cluster configurations for drift. In this case, we have a few clusters with a few high-risk items. Looking down below, we can see the top issues, such as audit logs aren't configured correctly, and we don't have a login banner displayed, and we may have a legal requirement for that. We can dive right in, look at what is causing the issue to show up as flagged in this report, and then there's also a handy link to documentation if you need an assist being able to set this to the best practice configuration. The Threat Protection tab here is a great representation of some of the threats that have been found in your environment. This dashboard shows different scans that Cohesity has run. In this case, we were doing some threat detection scans using built-in Qualys rules and also custom Yara rules. We can see that we've had a couple different items that showed up with some IOCs on them, and then we can go in and review those deeper. Looking at the Data Sensitivity tab, this is where we're going to be looking at data classification and how sensitive the data is in some of these systems that you're protecting. In this case, we had an event, we went out and we did a scan of the data, and we found that we have breached not only emails, but also some credit card data. This could inform our incident response because we may have to let end users know their data was breached, or we may have some sort of legal obligation to report this to authorities. Moving on from the dashboard and the summary view, let's jump into the anti-ransomware page here. Cohesity's anti-ransomware engine detects encryption events on the back-end data of the systems that we protect. As data comes in, we make a pattern of what's normal on the system using AI/ML, and then as changes come in, we evaluate them based on the patterns that we have seen previously. Additionally, since we're doing change block tracking, we can see entropy in the lower level blocks, as well as with our indexing capabilities, we can see things like bulk file changes as well as extension changes. We can alert on this, provide information about it, but then we can also do things like trigger data classification scans or threat scans automatically. So in your response, you already have a bit of information about whether there was sensitive data on the system, or maybe even it can get you going in the right direction with your security department along the lines of investigating and eradicating what causes behavior in the first place. Within the alert, we can look and we see that the latest snapshot was affected. It has been quarantined and cannot be recovered to without administrative approvals and overhead. And we can start evaluating some of the patterns of behavior within this incident. We can look at trends, affected files to look into the index to see what actually happened to the file system. That sensitivity report about the data sensitivity that from the classification run is also included, as well as a threat hunt we ran with a base set of rules to see if there's any known malware from our Qualys feed in there. All of this is presented and displayed directly within the alert to help you inform your security response. This is also great if you can send this data to your security team so you have a common base to work off of as you work through your security response. The next feature we're going to look at here in the Security Center is Quorum. Quorum is arguably one of the most important features that Cohesity has from a security perspective. Quorum allows you to set operations within Cohesity that takes multi-person integrity to execute. For instance, we're able to put things like maybe changing network settings or cluster configuration settings under a quorum, and then if someone wants to make a change, even if they have the permissions, it has to be approved by multiple delegates. As we move on to talk a little bit more about Fort Knox, I'm going to pause here and click on the Integrations tab, and then we're going to browse some of the integrations we have available. These are folks from our Security Alliance or Data Security Alliance. They are partners that we work with in the security space that you can very quickly and easily click through and add the integration directly into your Cohesity environment. We understand security is a team sport. A lot of people say that. However, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to get on the team. So let's go ahead and jump over and wrap up with data faulting and Fort Knox now. Fort Knox is Cohesity's solution for geographical data isolation, but also administrative isolation. The administrative isolation is very important because even if every credential in your system got completely owned, your data in the Cohesity vault would be safe in Fort Knox. Restoration of this data only requires a connection to Helios and somewhere to restore it to. So as you're responding to your event and you're building an isolated recovery environment or a secure environment, you can connect this environment back to Fort Knox, pull your read-only copies out, and reinstantiate your minimum viable company directly from Fort Knox. That concludes our brief demo for today. However, I'd like to circle back around and hit a couple key points here. As we look through this list, there's some key things you should really ask as you're evaluating backup and recovery solutions. Are my backups going to be immutable? Are they going to be tamper-proof? Can we make sure that even if someone gets in, they're not going to be able to change that backup data or destroy it? Are your backups air-gapped or vaulted? Do you have any level of administrative or geographical isolation for your backups? Are your backup servers and infrastructure hardened? If someone gets into your environment, are they going to be able to withstand the attacks? And if they don't, are you still going to be able to recover from other copies of data? Are you using RBAC MFA and adhering to zero trust principles? Well, we built our solution around zero trust principles and the ability to work with your security posture in your environment. Is your RPO and RTO really going to work for what the business needs? Are they formally defined? Have your departments told you that this is the level of expectation we have in a recovery or security event? And then lastly, are you testing these scenarios on a regular basis, once a year, twice a year, quarterly? Are you running through your processes and procedures and looking for gotchas or holes? We find in security response situations, this preparation and practice is what really drives organizations forward into having a quick response. Well, this wraps up my portion of the webcast. I appreciate everyone's time today coming out and listening to us. I appreciate Jake giving us the presentation up front and explaining some of the value of the Cohesity platform. I also want to thank our chat responders who have been diligently answering questions along the way. And most of all, thank you to our hosts for putting on such a great webcast today. With that, I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jake and Jonathan. What a great presentation. Lots of cool information. I love getting into the demo and getting to see things in action. That is so exciting. And it's really nice when we talk about the theoretical and then we get to see things kind of working and how it all comes together. So I appreciate that 1-2 punch there, guys. As I said, quite the dynamic duo. Now, I do want to point out to all of you out there that we have a question for all of you. This is our follow-up question. We're wondering what additional information you would like to get about the Cohesity solution. So again, think of this as your easy button. Now, and I know I saw this from somebody earlier saying, I don't like the easy button. I like the done button. And hey, that's a great clarification. Good point. All right, so I'll adjust. This is not the easy button. This is the done button, because once you click on that wish list, you are going to get only and exactly what you need from Cohesity. They will send you exactly what you're looking for, whether that's a data sheet, a white paper, a case study, and so on. So click on that screen there. I see lots of high fives. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Aisha. I appreciate that. Definitely a great presentation from Jake and Jonathan. As they said, we've got team members here answering questions on live chat. So we're going to keep rolling with our MegaCast today because we've got lots more presentations, lots more info to come. But keep those questions coming in for the Cohesity crew because they will get back to you. Now, any responses that you don't get today, they will also follow up with you. So questions coming in, and clicking on that handout or on that poll there, and also visiting the handouts tab. Make sure that you get that handout from Cohesity. There is a great evaluation guide and checklist, which is such a cool takeaway because for a lot of us, that's that missing action step that we could use a little bit of support on, is the evaluation side of it, and that taking, going through a checklist, making things nice and easy to take those next steps. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that backup as a service option from Cohesity, how you can boost that data agility, get that operational efficiency and cyber resilience that you're looking for, go check out this guide. Don't read it fully yet because we've got more info to get into in our session yet, but just put that aside, have that tab open, make sure you've got that for after we wrap because you're going to want to come back to that, I promise you. So while you're opening that handout, while you're clicking on the poll, while you're getting in your last questions, it is time for another prize giveaway. All right, so we are going to do a $300 Amazon gift card today, and that is going to someone live lucky here and present at the MegaCast, and that special somebody is Chris Straight from North Carolina. So Chris Straight from North Carolina, congratulations to you, Chris. We will be in touch about claiming your prize, so stay tuned for that. Plus, there's that best question gift card coming at you from each one of our sessions, and again, we evaluate all of the questions asked after we wrap. So even if we don't get to your question in a live Q&A, you are still entered to win. Keep those questions rolling in. All right, my friends. Well, we are going to keep things moving right along in this MegaCast because, as you can see, we have another incredible team here in the wings. Up next, we get to chat with Roger Boss, Senior Product Marketing Manager Solutions at Pure Storage. Roger, thank you so much for being here with us today on the MegaCast. I always love Pure Storage presentations, lots of information. I'm excited to dig into this. So, Roger, take it away.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me. Welcome to our session on building a cyber resilient infrastructure based on NIST's cybersecurity framework. I'm Roger Boss, Senior Product Marketing Manager for Data Protection and Security Solutions here at Pure Storage. I've worked in the technology sector for 30-some years. 20 of those have been spent within the storage and data protection space. I've had the pleasure of working for a number of leading companies in addition to Pure, such as Apple, HP, Veeam, and others. But before I jump in, I usually like to share a statistic or two about a topic we're discussing. And when we're talking about cyber resilience, several things come to mind. First up is this from ESG, Enterprise Strategy Group. They conducted a survey several months back on ransomware and cyber resiliency. They surveyed more than 600 IT professionals across North America and Europe. And one of the first questions was on how these leaders viewed ransomware. Now, we know ransomware threatens every organization, regardless of industry or size. The threat is growing, and new attacks or attempted attacks are taking place today around every 11 seconds. Defending against ransomware is critical not only for those on the front lines, but to management, board members, customers, employees, pretty much everyone. So it should not come as a surprise when, of those surveyed, 89% saw the threat of a ransomware attack as an existential risk to their business. So with so many attacks, it's becoming more of a matter of when you're going to be attacked as opposed to if you're going to be hit by an attack. So what happens if you're hit by an attack? Can you trust your traditional methods of data recovery to work? Can you be assured you'll be able to recover that data? Well, ESG also asked that question and found that 69% viewed recovery from a cyber event as being fundamentally different than recovering from a traditional outage or disaster. So I ask you, is your existing recovery efforts that are built on traditional methods, is that going to be enough to reduce the risk to your business from a cyber attack? Or do you need something else? That's pretty much where the whole theme of cyber resiliency and the NIST framework come into play. But really, what is a cyber resilient architecture? And how can you ensure that you have the right framework in place to secure your systems and that you're able to and ready to defend against an attack? So our own Andy Stone, CTO for the Americas here at Pure, defines that by saying a cyber resilient architecture is one that builds on an environment of high-speed recoverability. It leverages snapshots for near immediate recovery. And the architecture can range in complexity, depending on how many tiers that are created. But ultimately, a cyber resilient architecture aims to retain large amounts of data and make it available immediately following an attack. So read into that what you will. I look at it and think that in order to be a first-class storage organization, you need to be a first-class security organization. And I believe Pure is doing that. We recognize the critical importance of developing our products with security in mind, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's take a look at the NIST framework and how Pure solutions work within that framework. So first thing, let's talk about NIST. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's a division of the U.S. Department of Commerce. And NIST developed a set of standards that help businesses better understand, manage, and reduce their cybersecurity risk by protecting their networks and their data. Now, this framework provides a set of best practices that help align and focus time, money, and resources around cybersecurity protection. So NIST groups this framework into 5 buckets, that being identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Now, Pure's objective is to align with the NIST framework, but do so almost in reverse, because we already have recovery solutions that are aligned with those offered by leading data protection software providers. And today, we're working closely to expand and integrate our industry-leading storage solutions with the solutions offered by security partners such as Logarithm, Fortinet, Varonis, and many others, Splunk, in there as well. And we're doing that in order to allow our customers to reduce costs, close security gaps, and improve the time it takes to identify, detect, secure, and protect data. Again, aligning to that NIST framework. But building a path to cybersecurity and cyber resiliency, I should say, doesn't need to be complex. So let's take a look at these steps and see how they can be implemented to build a cyber resilient architecture. So the first place that we'll start is with identifying systems and classifying data, because you can't protect or defend against an attack if you don't know what you have. So the first thing is to make a list of the equipment, all the software and data, all the laptops, smartphones that are in use, tablets, point of sale devices, anything that is hitting your network. Practice good system hygiene. Be sure to update security software regularly. Automate that task if possible. And ensure that you have formal policies in place for securely disposing of electronic files and old devices. You want to make sure that those policies are written, and also that you have roles identified, responsibilities identified for employees, for vendors, and anyone else that has access to sensitive data or your network. Make sure that policy is shared, and test your plans frequently, because you don't want your first attempt to recover from a cyber event being a live event. You want to go through that process multiple times before you're forced into putting that into play. Now, the protect phase has historically been the last step of the process, but with breaches becoming more and more inevitable, we're seeing a change now. So we're seeing SIM tools used to monitor system traffic and identify anomalies. We're looking to control who logs in on your network and who uses computers and other devices. Use security software and implement multi-factor authentication to protect those systems and your application data. So essentially, take a zero trust approach to security. Train everyone who uses those devices, your network, about cybersecurity, and help them understand their role and the role that they play in securing that data and your workplace. From a monitoring perspective, so monitor those systems for unauthorized access. Look for devices like USB drives and unauthorized software that's being installed. Investigate anything that's unusual, any unusual activity on your network or even by your staff. Check your network for unauthorized users or unauthorized connections. Being able to respond to an attack quickly is going to make a huge difference. So again, be sure to test your plans frequently so you know what to do. And if a breach is noticed, activate that response plan immediately. Report the attack to management, to law enforcement or others that are identified in the plan. Notify customers, employees, or others whose data was placed at risk. Work to contain that attack. Use those SOAR tools to automate responses, such as taking a snapshot at the time of an event, or kicking users from the network if there's a possibility that they're there and they're not supposed to be. Be prepared for inadvertent events like weather emergencies that can put data at risk. If I haven't mentioned it before, test that plan and do it on a regular basis. After an attack, you want to recover as quickly as possible. That is your main and sole goal. So ensure your systems can provide the recovery that's needed to meet RTOs and RPOs. So how does Pure look at applying the NIST framework as part of building a cyber resilient plan? So a data resilient architecture from Pure is going to address security activities before, during, and after an attack. Our tiered resiliency architecture, it's simple, it's easy to use, easy to operate, it's immutable and resilient, and it offers unmatched speed for recovery and restore. Excuse me. It's a multi-layered recovery architecture that uses primarily safe mode snapshots to implement the lowest possible recovery times based on an organization's need and the recovery time objectives. Safe mode it's a data protection solution that's built into FlashArray and FlashBlade. I'll go into it a little bit more later, but it's super immutable, provides out-of-band multi-factor authenticated snapshots. So Pure enables you to recover data very quickly in the event of a cyber attack, a disaster, or even an administrative accident. And safe mode snapshots afford you that near instant recovery capability. And instead of relying on other backup technologies that are slow, complex, and prone to malfunction or have other technical issues that are going to happen at exactly the worst time. So by implementing a resiliency architecture from Pure, you'll benefit from reduced management overhead, improved environmental and sustainability metrics, enhanced ability to easily test and prove the environment is working, and confirm that your recoverability goals are being met. And finally, you'll have a lifetime of non-disruptive upgradability, so you never have to migrate data again. So with that, let's take a look at some of our systems that Pure offers. So Pure FlashBlade S is our next generation unstructured data platform that delivers speed, simplicity, scalability, and sustainability. It's built on an all QLC flash that leverages our Purity operating environment to deliver twice the performance and power efficiency of other products. It's simple to deploy, manage, and upgrade. And when deployed with an all-inclusive subscription service, helps you manage costs. It scales seamlessly in both capacity and performance and requires 48% less power and 28% less cooling than previous models. FlashArray X is our primary storage solution that offers the highest levels of performance. It accelerates everything from tier 1 databases to large-scale virtualized and cloud-native apps. FlashArray C delivers equal parts of performance and capacity and is the perfect solution for business-critical workloads and data. Our FlashArray product line offers 6 nines of availability, non-disruptive upgrades, a consistent single millisecond latency, and built-in enterprise data services with up to 10-to-1 deduplication and an always-on data protection, all at no cost. FlashBlade offers the fastest recovery times on the market, up to 270 terabytes per hour at scale. FlashBlade E is our product that offers more capacity, which is perfect for archive workloads. And all of these solutions are supported by our subscription offerings, including Evergreen, Pure One, and Pure as a Service. Now, a couple things on those subscription offerings. Evergreen is not a maintenance agreement. Don't confuse this with maintenance. It's all about non-disruptive upgrades. Pure One is our AI-driven data services platform for storage and infrastructure management. And Pure as a Service provides an on-demand subscription model for storage consumption, which includes maintenance and support. And now let's take a look at safe mode. So safe mode is essentially an immutable snapshot that is used to protect your data. Ransomware can't delete, modify, or encrypt it, even if your admin credentials become compromised. Safe mode snapshots are created and expired by policy, and they can only be deleted or changed by an authorized representative of your organization working directly with Pure support. And what makes this even better is that safe mode functionality is built into all of our products. There's no complicated setup, no professional services engagement, and no compromise. So when we're looking at how Pure provides this cyber resiliency through what we offer. We're doing this through snapshots and recoveries. So snapshots using safe mode, tiering from hot storage to colder storage. We're looking at backup and rapid recovery, working with our data protection partners and having deep integrations there, and also having replication and disaster recovery built in to our operating environment. So you have tools that offer asynchronous replication, synchronous replication, all available within the operating environment at no additional cost. Now, Pure also offers container protection through Portworx. So it provides container recovery and container security. So Portworx provides basically one-click backup and restore, portability between the cloud, hybrid, or on-premises Kubernetes environments. It provides enterprise-level control to meet compliance and governance requirements, and multi-level ransomware protection with low RPOs and low RTO disaster recovery. So we're going to start wrapping things up and talk about a couple case studies here. Excuse me. So the first story is about a hospital that was recovering from a ransomware attack. This is published as part of a blog on our site. And you can go onto our site and download the case study. So this event actually happened on a weekend, and immediately it affected doctors and nurses and their ability to care for patients who were at the hospital. So the hospital's legacy IT infrastructure was really configured as a single data center. It was built on a single array with backups running on that network. So it wasn't possible for administrators to access copies of system data. This rendered the hospital's IT systems and applications unusable. And as a result, the staff had to default to emergency backup procedures. And that was basically a pad of paper, a pencil, and telephone-based communications. And doing that until this situation could be resolved. So in the meantime, the hospital's IT department contacted Pure's customer support. And time was of the essence because they really couldn't afford to run on these procedures, looking up file data, pulling files, and so forth for very long. So Pure's support team responded and pointed out that they could access usable copies of their applications and data sets through Pure Storage snapshots. The snapshots are built into our systems, and in this case, the Pure Flash Array. Pure snapshots are read-only snapshots of backup data and associated metadata and catalogs that are created after a full backup is performed. So they provide an immutable copy of data that a ransomware attacker cannot compromise, alter, or affect. And for the hospital, this meant that the network data could be recovered after all, enabling its systems to be potentially rebuilt over the course of hours rather than weeks. So the other thing we have a number of case studies with our data protection partners as well. Convault, for instance, was working with a super large state government and a longtime customer who ditched their legacy architecture for FlashBlade with S3. S3 allowed for the fastest setup and created basically two buckets, two FlashBlade buckets of 5 petabytes each across 2 sites. And FlashBlade provided 61% faster restore time in a speed-restricted environment. So Veritas was working with one of their customers, and that customer at the time had a large data domain installation that was running net backup. They switched to Pure and realized an 87% reduction in footprint, in rack footprint. They went from 168 U down to 28 U. So what is that? 3 or 4 racks of equipment down to half of one rack. They saw a 66% reduction in power and a 67% reduction in heating and cooling costs. and backup speeds were consistently 25% faster than their existing dedupe target. I'm going to end on this with a case study around Admiral. Now, Admiral is one of the UK's best-known insurance brands. They address the threat of ransomware and the possibility of business disruptions by deploying Pure FlashBlade, Safe Mode, and Veeam. And it used to take them 30 hours to back up their Oracle database environment. And that Oracle database environment was running Admiral's policy and billing functions. That same process now, using Pure and Veeam, takes less than 40 minutes, which handily met the recovery point objective standard that was set by Admiral to ensure adherence to regulatory controls. In addition to the 97% improvement in recovery time, Admiral was also able to cut their data center footprint fourfold while reducing power and cooling costs by 74% annually. So as we wrap things up, why should you look at Pure Storage for your cyber resiliency? So just a couple points. Gartner has recognized Pure in the Magic Quadrant for both primary storage and file and object storage. And for primary storage, we've been in the leaders quadrant for 10 consecutive years, the last 4 of which we've been positioned highest for both completeness of vision and our ability to execute. And for 3 years, we've been recognized by the Magic Quadrant for file and object storage as a leader. FlashBlade and FlashArray have also been recognized as Gartner Pure Insight Customer Choice recipients. From an energy standpoint, I always like saying, excuse me, that a picture paints 1,000 words, says 1,000 words. And with energy costs and demands already impacting many organizations, data growth is only adding to the problem. And with data needs growing, the only way to keep these numbers down and manageable is really by building more efficient products. And that's something that Pure has always done. So Pure arrays and blades lower energy use up to 80% compared to competitive all-flash systems. And we back up these claims with lifecycle analysis that's performed by a third party. And customers see benefits in 2 ways. Number 1, lower operating costs, especially for larger deployments, and progress on their own ESG and sustainability goals. One of the other things that I want to point out is that Pure has the highest NPS score in the industry, which is 82. We've demonstrated our success with NPS for over 8 years. And again, these are audited results that you can check out online. So summarizing, look to Pure to deliver speed, security, simplicity, scalability, and sustainability. And those solutions will wrap up there, and we'll deliver all of this through our ecosystem of partners. With that, I think we're pretty much at time, and I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Roger. What a great presentation. So much awesome information and lots of good takeaways for our audience here. Now, I know all of you have a lot of questions still coming in, and Roger's actually going to hang out on live chat. So we're going to switch this conversation over to live chat and make sure we get answers to all of you. And anything we don't get to on live chat, again, we will send to the Pure Storage team, so you will get follow-ups. Please also make sure that you click on the wish list that you see up on your screen right now. What would be helpful for you in terms of following up on the conversation we just had with Roger? Because obviously this is just scratching the surface and there's so much more to dig into. So if you're looking for a little bit more information, click on the screen right there and get exactly the information that you need. Another great follow-up, be sure you visit that handouts tab, grab that white paper from Pure Storage, Modern Data Protection with all the benefits of Flash. You can learn how Pure Storage solutions are going to safeguard your data and deliver that fast and reliable recovery that we're all talking about here today, right? That's the whole theme of our day today. So make sure you've got that handout. Hold on to that for later because you are going to want to follow up with that. And while you are clicking on handouts, getting in your last questions, clicking on the poll, all of those wonderful things, I am going to do a prize giveaway. David, I see you giving a shout out to Pure. That's awesome. I love that coming in. Always nice to see folks who have that firsthand familiarity and can kind of pass on their love and their feedback to the other folks here in our community. So that's awesome. I've seen a lot of that today, and that makes me very happy. You wonderful humans out there. All right, well, speaking of wonderful humans, I think it's about time that we give a prize to one of you lovely folks. So we are going to do a $300 Amazon gift card, and we'll do an Apple Watch as well. All right. So I've got two prizes that's going to go to two different people here live present with us at the MegaCast, ready to win. Our first winner, our next winner of a $300 Amazon gift card today is Kathleen Sinelli from Massachusetts. Kathleen Sinelli from Massachusetts, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And then we have an Apple Watch going to Angie Tina Cooper from Texas. Great name, Angie Tina Cooper from Texas. You have won an Apple Watch. We will follow up with both of you, Kathleen and Angie, after we wrap. I did get a question Leon was asking earlier if I would read out all the winners at the end. I promise, Leon, I will do that. I will give a full recap when we get to the end. And as always, we will get in touch with all of our winners after we wrap the entire MegaCast. So stay tuned if you were a winner today. Plus, we've got that best question gift card coming at you from each one of our sessions. All right. Well, my friends, I have that point in the day that we come to every day. That's always a little bit of sad and a little bit of glad, because we are right here at the end of our MegaCast. So good news and bad news. The bad news is this is our very last presentation of the day. The good news is we get to wrap it up with the Haiku team. And I know you are all excited about that, because the Haiku team always has awesome information, awesome presentations. And of course, Shiva here is a return presenter and a familiar face here on the MegaCast. So I'm hoping you guys are all pumped up and ready. I'm very happy to introduce you all to Shiva Raja, Technical Solutions Architect at Haiku. Shiva, thank you so much for being here with us again today. You are our grand finale. You're bringing us on home. I'm going to hand things right on over to you. Take it away.
Thank you for having me. For a quick introduction, my name is Shiva Raja. I'm the Technical Solutions Architect at Haiku. I've been with the company for, I'd say, more than 5.5 years now. And I basically wanted to talk about, what we offer, especially when it comes to the field of data protection. Now, for the folks who are familiar with our solution, right, we started our journey with protecting Nutanix platform back in 2017, right? And that was pretty much the age of hyperconverged infrastructure. And Nutanix at that time was pretty much the up-and-coming emerging platform when it came to highly efficient, high-performance hyperconverged infrastructure, right? And from there, we basically started supporting workloads that had to do with VMware, and we basically started to support workloads on public cloud. And fast forward in 2023, we are actually the leading solution when it comes to protecting SaaS workloads. And let me just provide you some context, because 5 to 7 years ago, we were pretty much used to having workloads that were predictable, be it in terms of boundaries or be it in terms of in technology itself, right? You could actually have several kind of applications, databases, or file servers, but at the end of the day, structured or unstructured data, be it on-prem or cloud, they were always defined within your virtual machines. They were always defined within your storage infrastructure, right? But as time went on, we basically started to look into as-a-service offerings, right? This basically started with public cloud, right? AWS, Azure, Google, they not only offer solutions that has to do with just hosting virtual machines, but they have a lot of as-a-service offerings like database as a service, platform as a service. And as time went on, you basically have vendors that are not even affiliated with any of these public cloud hyperscalers. You have several SaaS solutions. Like if you take Atlassian, for instance, you basically have several offers under Atlassian, like Jira Service Management, Confluence, Bitbucket. And the sheer number of SaaS applications that you have in the market can be overwhelming, right? And this basically interested us. And we started to dig deeper, right? And we found out that in a given organization, we basically have like every art, like just give me a second. Let me try to minimize the screen. I'm not able to do that. All right. So yeah, in a given organization, you basically have approximately 254 SaaS applications. And so when it comes to the whole SaaS applications, right, we basically figured out that you actually have approximately 254 SaaS applications across every organization. And this is an average number. As a matter of fact, at Haiku, when we did our own internal survey, we have approximately of more than 100 SaaS applications, right? And we're basically an organization that is under 500 employees. But if you basically get into like an enterprise customer, the sheer number of SaaS applications jumps up to like more than 350 applications, right? And here's the kicker. More than 50 or approximately around 50% of these SaaS applications are used outside of the IT infrastructure admin's domain. What this means is any department or any user can basically use their corporate credit card to instantly subscribe to a service, and they don't even have to notify their internal IT teams. And this is a huge problem, right? Because when it comes to SaaS threats, one of the biggest security vulnerabilities that we are starting to see is all of these ransomware attacks. Instead of attacking a given organization, they try to target a given SaaS provider or a SaaS vendor, and that in turn basically impacts a lot of customers, right? And this this is basically one of the bigger problems, because when you subscribe to a SaaS application, you as an end user are not responsible for, or you don't even have the control of securing all that data, because you're pretty much at the mercy of having security policies of that, or at this, hosting those security policies of that given vendor, and you as an end user don't have any control over it, right? And that is exactly where the protection of these SaaS applications play a huge role, because when there is a data loss situation, how do you basically go about retrieving that data for that given SaaS application? And we found out that more than 99% of all of these SaaS applications don't have default data protection. A lot of people misunderstand that a service availability is equivalent to data protection, right? When there is a service outage from a given SaaS vendor, that vendor would be only focused on bringing up that service up and running. But when it comes to that real data that's living within that SaaS application for that given subscription, it's all within the customer's responsibility. It's a shared data model at the end of the day. And even Gartner only recognizes 5 SaaS applications that are basically, have a more of a firm support for backup and recovery products, right? And that's exactly where Haiku comes in, because we basically ask you this question of, do you really even have that visibility to protect all of your as-a-service workloads in addition to protecting your on-prem and public cloud workloads? Because if the audience over here, if you're familiar with our solution, I'm sure you would know that we support Nutanix, we support VMware, we also support public cloud workloads from Azure, AWS, and Google. But a lot of people oversee, or they kind of ignore the viability of protecting workloads on SaaS, right? Because most of the times people either think that the data within the SaaS given SaaS application is protected by that said vendor, or number 2, people think that it's impossible to protect that said data, and it's basically highly available. So when a service goes down, they can always bring it back up. But no one really knows that, is it even possible to protect such data on a given SaaS application? And that's exactly where we come in. So we basically start with the following, right? The first thing that we try to do is, for an IT infrastructure admin, we basically help you to identify all of the SaaS applications that have been subscribed within your organization. We basically use our solution by the name rGraph, which truly helps you to visualize your entire data estate, basically have the ability to measure the SaaS sprawl within your organization. And we do this in the following ways, right? We basically have our solution subscribed. We enable our solution for your infrastructure. And once that is done, we make use of Okta or Active Directory services to basically log into your infrastructure. And from there, we will be able to instantaneously discover all of the subscribed SaaS applications within your organization. And once they're discovered, we basically have the ability to identify the fact whether these workloads are protected or not. And in addition to that, we also have the ability to delegate the applications back to their owners. So for instance, if you have a lot of DBaaS services that have been identified, we basically have the ability to delegate them to the respective database administrators. If you have, let's say, workloads like Atlassian that have been discovered, we can actually delegate them back to the respective engineering teams, right? So the ability to discover all of these SaaS applications, structure them in an orderly fashion, and delegate them back, or basically provide the control back to the appropriate owners so that they can protect their own workloads, in itself is a huge promising use case. And by doing this, we basically have the ability to truly assess the risk and the protection status of your entire applications within your given organization, right? And that is what we do, right? We basically help you to not just protect, but also start with this overall global discovery. And once that discovery is done, we basically provide you the ability to either protect those workloads by yourself, or you actually have the ability to delegate those applications to the respective owners, and they can choose to protect whatever workloads that they seem or that they deem necessary, right? So now this specific screenshot shows you an overview of how our R graph basically looks like, right? As I mentioned before, R graph basically helps you to discover all of your SaaS applications. It's basically discovering the entire chaos, where you basically have hundreds of SaaS applications spread across your given organization. And from there, we basically have the ability to instantaneously organize them. And the whole organization part can be done automatically, or it could be done manually based on your own discretion. You have the ability to, categorize a specific set of SaaS applications to a given department. And once that organization is done, now you basically have the ability to drill down to a specific group of applications. And as I pointed out before, you can actually delegate it to a given set of end users, and they can basically start protecting those own workloads. Or you could basically let them know that, hey, we have discovered these set of applications. If you want us to protect them for you, we can protect this, or you can protect this by yourself. Because let's face it, folks, at the end of the day, whenever an application goes down, it's always the IT administrative team that basically gets reached out to see if that data can be recovered, right? And when it comes to your traditional on-prem workloads, or when it comes to your traditional, even public cloud hyperscalers, you do have some control because this is something that people are well known of. But when it comes to SaaS workloads, that's a huge variable, right? It's like either yes, it's going to be a yes for only a few subset of applications, but it's going to be a huge no for the majority of SaaS workloads. And that's exactly where our graph comes in, which basically helps you to discover all of these applications, put them under control, and actually, give that a peace of mind back to the end users to ensure that all of their data is protected. Now, when it comes to data protection with Haiku, these are one of the salient features, right? I mean, for folks who are already familiar with our Haiku solution, protecting their Nutanix or VMware or public cloud workloads, they would already know that we actually deliver our solution purely in an automated fashion. We basically deliver a policy-based data protection solution where it's more of a set and forget model. You define your policies once, you discover your resources, and you assign these policies. You can even automate the assignment of these policies, and pretty much everything will be taken care by itself. Be it in terms of backup frequencies or RTOs or retention or the retention times of your backups, everything will be taken care of automatically. In addition to that, we also ensure that your backups are fully protected, not only in terms of malicious behavior, but also from ransomware or malware attacks, because we can not only provide you a software level worm of ensuring that users can delete those backups. We also support backups to worm enabled object storage or worm enabled NAS storage to ensure that your backups are truly immutable. In addition to that, when it comes to restores, we support not just full, but also granular restores of all of your on-prem, public cloud, and SaaS. So When it comes to doing restores on SaaS, this is another huge advantage, folks. This is what I want you to take away with, because any SaaS application that we support, we not only support full restores of that given SaaS application, we also have the ability to deliver full-scale granular restores of a SaaS workload. This could be applied for your Salesforce or all of your Atlassian workloads or your Okta. So yeah, the possibilities are endless here. So what is it exactly that we do in terms of your overall organizational offering, right? So one of the biggest things that we can offer in terms of our solution from a summarizing standpoint is we are well known to protect, or our customers or audience might basically know us in delivering data protection for Nutanix or for VMware or even for workload public cloud hyperscalers such as AWS, Azure, or Google, and any of the applications that run within these traditional compute instances, right? But what we can do now is we also have the ability to protect native SaaS workloads on your public cloud, such as like let's take Google, for example. We do have the ability to support Google's Cloud SQL, BigQuery, Firestore, and we also have the ability to support the platform as a service, such as Cloud Run. So these are the kind of offerings that your regular data protection vendors can provide, right? That is the big differentiation here. Not only that, with Haiku, you not only have the ability to protect your traditional workloads, but also as a service workloads on your public, on your public cloud hyperscalers. And in addition to that, we also offer data protection for all of your SaaS workloads, such as Atlassian Jira, Atlassian Service Management, Confluence, Bitbucket. We can also support Salesforce, Okta. Like right now, we basically support a total of more than 50 SaaS applications alone, right? So do check us out at www.haiku.com to identify all of the SaaS workloads that we can support today. And one of the best parts about our solution is we already have like a built-in marketplace where you can search for your own, for the application that you're trying to protect. And if you don't have an application, you can always request for a support, and we have an extremely fast turnaround times in terms of supporting any newly requested SaaS applications. Right. So there's a lot of interesting possibilities, especially when it comes to protecting your SaaS workloads. So please do check us out. And here's the QR code for signing up for our graph demo. So for instance, if you'd like to discover what are the SaaS workloads that you have in your infrastructure that you'd like to protect instantaneously, you can always use our rgraph, and it's totally a free service. You don't have to pay anything for this. So if you want to do a quick demo of our rgraph service, please check us out at www.demo.haiku.com, or you can instantly scan this QR code.
All right, Shiva, what a great presentation. That was awesome. So much information and lots of great takeaways for our audience there. We do have a lot of questions coming in, but before we get into those, Shiva, I'm going to hang on to you for a bit longer here so we can answer as many as we can. But I do want to point out to everyone out there that we have a poll question up on the screen for you. You're all familiar with this by now. You know what this is, so this should be nice and easy. What we want to know is what additional information would be helpful for you. So Shiva just gave us a lot of great insight into Haiku and rgraph, and there's so much more to dig into and so many follow-up conversations to be had. So what would be most helpful for you? Do you want to get into that demo? Do you want to talk about pricing? Do you want to talk about case studies? Whatever it is that you need that would help you bring this conversation to other teammates or colleagues or a decision maker, or if you're the decision maker and you want to then explain it to everyone else why you've picked this wonderful thing, these are great takeaways and follow-ups. So make sure you're clicking on your screen there. While you're doing that, Shiva, you ready for some Q&A?
Absolutely. So I'm trying to identify questions here.
That's
I actually clicked on.
I've got a bunch for you. I'm all lined up and ready. So you just get to sit back
absolutely.
and relax, and I'll ask you.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, your job's easy now. You just I'll just pull info from you. All right. So Shiva, question for you. We had a few questions coming in around the automatic protection included with SaaS apps. So could you talk a little bit about the automatic backups and why this would be a sort of a different offering, why it would be important to go beyond the native capabilities?
Sure. So when it comes to automatic backups, I believe the question is more in terms of native protection that's available for a SaaS application, right? I would even go as far as saying that when it comes to native protection, around 10 to 15%. If you take a number of SaaS applications that offer native backup and recovery services, I would count that to maybe 10 to 15%, right? Now, in that 10 to 15%, if you look at the capabilities that are delivered for those native backup and restore, it's going to be extremely limited, right? What I mean by that is your recovery options are going to be limited. You won't have the ability to, let's say, do granular restores. Your retention options are going to be limited. You won't be able to store the backups for, let's say, more than 7 days or 2 weeks. And you will be charged additional for, you basically have to pay an extra price for such a limited amount of protection. And don't even get me started on, security protection for these backups. Let's say protecting these backups from a ransomware attack, ensuring that these backups are immutable. So only a very, very few subset of vendors can offer maybe a subset of these points that I just talked about. But when you invest in a third-party vendor who's an expert in backup and recovery, then this basically ensures that your data is not only protected, but it's also protected in a true offsite location that is safe, not just from outages, but also from malicious attacks or malwares or ransomware attacks.
Perfect. Okay. Well, this might also feed into that because we got a couple of questions coming in about customization, especially when it comes to access. And so can you speak a little bit to how folks could limit user access or restrict if needed?
Yes, absolutely, right? So we basically have inbuilt self-service capabilities that helps us to basically delegate roles. So for instance, by default, you do have the ability to assign users who can actually do only backups to the resources that they have authorization to. And this is basically done through our inbuilt self-service mechanism where we can actually, apply different grouping tenants. And those tenants can also be applied with additional role-based access controls on top of it so that you fully have a control over who gets to access what in terms of backups or restores or just pure monitoring. Right. So we have an entire self-service, system built into our solution, and this could basically be applied based on the administrator's discretion.
Perfect. Okay, love that. That customization is so important. What about when we're looking at the edge here? Are there any restrictions or limitations around mobile devices, tablets, smartphones, things like that?
Not that I can think of. I mean, yes, we basically offer a front-end web-based portal to access our solution. So whenever I do demos, especially in conferences or in tech conferences or tech expos, we basically make use of our iPads to basically demonstrate our solution. We use traditional web browsers such as Firefox or Chrome or Edge. So I don't think that should be a problem at all, especially when it comes to accessing our solution through a web portal on your mobile devices.
So on that note, in terms of our graph, we had a couple of questions coming in, and it's come up a few times today, certain teams being on the smaller side and not having disaster recovery teams or these big extended cybersecurity teams. So in terms of deployment around our graph, is this, what does the process look like? Is it overwhelmingly expensive and complex and difficult, or something we can expect to be a little bit easier even if you have a smaller team?
Absolutely. So this is one of the most instantaneously, the very simple and straightforward process, right? Because you as a user or a customer don't have to deploy anything manually. It's basically enabling basically subscribing to our SaaS solution and enabling a service. So from a deployment standpoint, I would say this would basically take a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes, and that's it, regardless of the size of your environment. It's very simple, straightforward, and extremely scalable.
Well, that's perfect. And I think, Shiva, as much as I wish we could keep going with this conversation because there's so much more to cover, we'll sort of leave it on that note. But the last thing I want to ask you is if somebody is really excited to learn a little bit more about Haiku and dig in a little bit more to the solution and how, our graph might work for them, what would you recommend as a first step?
I mean, do visit us at www.haiku.com. This would basically give you all the information about our solution, including our graph. And if you want to reach out to us, please send us an email at info@haiku.com, and we'll be more than happy to provide you more details and information.
Awesome. All right. Well, great next steps, great content today. Shiva, thank you so much for being here with us to close out our MegaCast. You have been an excellent grand finale. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And to everyone out there who's clicking on that wish list, keep that coming. Keep those questions coming in. We're going to make sure not a lot of time to answer them on live chat now since we're wrapping up, but we are going to make sure they get to the Haiku team. So you will get some responses back over email. So get those questions in. I also want to encourage you all to visit the handouts tab. Make sure you get that data sheet from Haiku on our graph, data, estate, discovery, and visualization. This is the perfect follow-up to the conversation we had because it's very quick. It's very easy to read. It's got a lot of packed information in there. So make sure you've got that. Download that, put that aside, hold on to it because you will want to access that after we wrap up here. And that is unfortunately coming very quickly. We're getting right up to the end of our time here together. But I did promise you, first of all, we have one more prize giveaway. And then I said I would do a full prize winner recap and I meant it. Okay, so we are going to give away one more $300 Amazon gift card as well as an Apple Watch Series 9. These prize winners are going to people who are here live, present, and lucky at the MegaCast today. Our last two winners, a $300 Amazon gift card going to Ash Aaron from Illinois. Ash Aaron, A-R-A-I-R-E-N, Iron from Illinois. Ash, you have won a $300 Amazon gift card. And then we have a Apple Watch Series 9 going to Glenn Rogers from Texas. Glenn, oh, I see Ash is here with us. Yay, Ash, you are here live and present. Amazing. All right, well, we will follow up with you. And then Glenn Rogers, you've won an Apple Watch. Our full winners list is going to a gift card to Josh Baker from Washington, D.C., a gift card going to Gary Zino from Massachusetts, an Apple Watch going to Eric Aschenbrenner from Texas, a gift card going to Chris Streit from North Carolina, a gift card going to Kathleen Kennelly from Massachusetts, an Apple Watch going to Angie Tina Cooper from Texas, a gift card going to Ash Aaron from Illinois, and a Apple Watch going to Glenn Rogers from Texas. That is our full winners list from the day. A lot of awesome prizes heading out there, but don't forget there's still that best question gift card. So we will be following up with our best question askers when we get done and we have a chance to review all of them. So stay tuned for that. All right, well, that is going to bring us to the end of our webinar. Now, as always, if you are sitting here on the MegaCast and EcoCast, a summit, and you're thinking this seems like a great time, it is, and we would love for you to come and join us. So please do reach out to us via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com. Shoot us a message, let us know that you'd like to come and present. We would absolutely love to have that conversation with you. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, here we are at the end of our MegaCast. What a day it's been. And I want to thank all of our incredible speakers here with us today from TierPoint, Zerto, Rubrik, Cohesity, Pure Storage, and Haiku for making this MegaCast possible. A big and special thank you, of course, to all of you for coming today, for asking some really great questions. Awesome engagement from all of you today. And I absolutely love that. I love seeing the questions, the comments, the high fives. We got a lot of that coming in today, which is amazing. You know, especially when we're sitting and talking about the worst days, right? We're talking about the worst case scenario. It can be easy to start to feel negative. And I think what is really wonderful about conversations like this is we're focused on what we can do. We're focused on the solution finding, the solution planning, getting things so that we're as close as we can. That RTA is as close as we can to where we want it to be, and planning ahead for that absolute worst day so that when the worst happens, maybe it isn't quite as bad, maybe because of the time and the energy and the effort that we're putting in now. That terrible, no good, very bad, rotten day that we might have is just a little bit less so. So thank you very much for being here with us today. I hope that you've all gotten some interesting ideas and tips, maybe feeling a little more at peace, a little bit more prepared and ready to take some action. Now, I do want to remind all of you to come back and join us for any, event soon, an EcoCast, a MegaCast, a summit, a webinar, whatever you got, come and join us. But we have an awesome EcoCast coming up on IT's role in defining the future higher ed classroom today. So getting to the classroom of the future today. That sounds like a cool, World's Fair kind of tagline. All right, so come join us on Tuesday, March 19th. Make sure that you join us for that. We're going to be chatting with some awesome folks who have a lot to talk to you about how you can bring technology into the higher ed classroom. This is a really exciting conversation. James, thank you so much for saying Happy Pi Day. I had totally forgotten that until we got that comment a little bit earlier today. Happy Pi Day, all. I hope that you're all heading out to eat some pies, whether they're sweet or savory. Enjoy them. And I hope that I will get to see you all again soon. Come back and join us again and tell me about all the pies that you ate today. All right, my friends. Well, thank you so much for joining. And until I get to see you again, have an absolutely beautiful Pi Day.